Hi, Ron Brookman here from Dwell Ministries with a few tips on overcoming temptation. Is it the fridge for food, or the computer for porn, the phone for social media, or another flutter for a big win? We are all tempted in so many ways. Even Jesus was. We are tempted for a hit of instant grat, for an escape from our stresses, or for comfort to ease our sorrows or pain. We know it's temptation when we have a ping of guilt, self-talk saying, I shouldn't be doing this. And then a rush of adrenaline, which energizes us to go ahead regardless, with a defiant thought, I can please myself. Have you noticed that the instant grat wears thin very fast? Our stresses return, often with the addition of guilt, and the rush of pleasure we got wafts past like a wind-blown cloud. How do we overcome temptation in the moment? Usually not without careful planning ahead. We need to retrain our brain. We'll come to that in a minute, but first let's look at a classic temptation story in the Bible. Joseph, in Genesis 39, 7-12, was Pharaoh's house servant. Pharaoh's wife looked with desire at Joseph and said, lie with me. He refused and said, how can I sin against the master's trust in me? How then could I do this great evil and sin against God? But she spoke to Joseph day after day, enticing him. But he did not listen to her. Joseph guarded his heart not to offend God. He maintained his integrity before his master. He turned his ear, eye, and soul away from the temptation. On the other hand, she idolized, fantasized, and became obsessed with temptation and sin. The world, the flesh, and the devil will throw everything at us to draw us into sin, chiefly to get at God through us, but also to get at us by devaluing our dignity. The world's values are increasingly anti-God, seeking to normalize things of the flesh as natural and essential, making our baser desires the center of our world. Our flesh, in its rush for vain fulfillment, sets itself against our spirit and against God's ways, truth, and patient provision of our deepest needs. Satan, the father of lies and destroyer from the beginning, does what he did in the beginning to Adam and Eve. He hoodwinks us into thinking bad is good, or that good is not worth waiting for. Note how Joseph resisted all three, the world, the flesh, and the devil, by worshipping God, by averting his eyes and attention from the temptation, determining to maintain his integrity and to act in accord with his moral and spiritual values. On the other hand, Pharaoh's wife idolized Joseph. She let the deceit of adultery overtake her faithfulness, and by constant focus on Joseph, forsook any values she may have had. There's a saying which goes, sow a thought, reap an action. Sow an action, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a lifestyle. Sow a lifestyle, reap a destiny. Each time we sin, we reinforce behavioral brain chains, which makes it easier next time, just sending us on that downward spiral. Each time we resist, we begin to atrophy those chains, which helps us change our behavior. It retrains our brain. Whether it's sexual temptation, gluttony, a compulsion to go shopping, TV, or time wasting on social media, gambling, or alcohol, etc., etc., etc. To arm ourselves to resist temptation, we need to set some principles to guide our actions. Answering these questions will help you to guard your heart, to strengthen your stand against temptation, and by referring them to retrain your brain. First question, who do I want to become? Or how will this sin undermine my growing dignity? 2, what are my truest wants or needs? Or am I about to act out superficial gratification as opposed to deepening my character formation? 3, what can I do now to find God's way of escape? That might be to worship, to pray, to get out of the house and go for a walk, to make a call, to do something on your to-do list. Essentially, to change your focus. 4th, when I'm tempted, what's actually happening within me? What might my emotions be triggering me to react? Emotional triggers are things like anxiety, rejection, stress, boredom, loneliness, fear, dreams, depression, etc. What healthy response can I make? How can I find true nurture? Or how can I control my emotions rather than letting them control me? There's an acronym, HALTS, H-A-L-T-S, which stands for hungry, angry, or anxious, lonely, tired, or stressed. Am I worn down by any of these conditions? Rather than acting out, how can I attend to these needs? And the last question, am I fighting this alone? Have I prayed, asking God to help me, to show me His way of escape? And who can I make myself accountable to? Who can I call or text for prayer in the situation? Who cares for me to follow me up and ask how I went? Accountability is really important. We can't do this alone. The Christians, in fact, everyone's deepest need, desire is for God. It's simply that we've forgotten or we don't know it. He does not bring us instant gratification, but he is the more costly pearl, worth the search, worth the wait. We need to activate faith that the Lord will reward us and draw us closer to him as we resist temptations. He will fulfill our deepest desires in time. We choose to live by faith, not by the flesh. We choose to wait. We can pray, Lord, increase my passion and desire for you. Help me set aside my fleshly desire to please you and to work with you to become who you are making me to be. A final suggestion: divide a sheet of paper with a line to make 2 columns. On the left, write the heading Self-Talk Excuses. Write down the permissions you give yourself to give into your temptation in the heat of the moment, such as, one more time won't hurt, no one will know, I've just got to do this, or everybody does it. Alternatively, write down the emotions that present themselves triggering you into temptation. And write down other excuses you use. Then, on the right column, write the heading, The Truth. Now, opposite each excuse, write down a counter-argument from your deeper, truer self. You might use a scripture verse you can quote, like Jesus did when he was tempted. On the bottom of your sheet or on another, write the heading Consequences. Then list what will follow your giving in. Consider things such as how you'll feel the next day, breaking an overcoming streak, or what will you lose? Will your sin affect how you relate to others? I offer just 2 scriptures to meditate on, to use when faced with temptation, to speak against the temptation. 1 Corinthians 10:13 says, "No temptation has overtaken you except something that is common to all people. And God is faithful, so he will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able. But with the temptation will provide the way of escape also, so that you will be able to endure it." And Paul wrote in 2 Corinthians 12:9, "He said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is perfected in weakness." In the weakness of temptation, call out to God for his power. God bless you as you take your stand in temptation. Thank you for watching. If you like our content, please hit like and subscribe to our channel. And if you'd like to support us, please do so using the link below. God bless you.